I'm Idris. So I've been with Couchbase as a principal product manager a little over 6 months. Prior to that, 25 years in a variety of different roles, focused primarily on analytics. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Couchbase Analytics, how it works, and some of the key customer pain points, and give it over to our other guest speaker to talk a little bit about their case study. So the Couchbase Analytics is essentially our service, which is baked into our platform, which helps users to analyze their JSON data in real time. At times, could be near real time, depending on where your data is going, and without the need to do ETL into a separate system. Our value prop is there are two focus areas. Basically, there's a real-time component and an operational analytics component. Operational analytics is a new subset of a combination of database and workload and system, which demands to achieve a competitive advantage for modern enterprise. And so what advantages you get is with the real-time analytics with your business operation, it processes both your current as well as your historical data. So they can prescribe actions in response to events and help achieve competitive advantage for your modern enterprise. Let's talk about how Couchbase Analytics works. So there are three portions to it. The first part is, as I mentioned, the Couchbase Analytics service helps users to analyze the application data. The users do this by creating a shadow copy or data sets of the data they would like to further analyze. So an example we're looking at is, for example, if you have 4 different data nodes and they're running the data services, right? You would create your own user-defined subset of which data you want to analyze. And the moment you do that, the shadow data set, which is a subset of the bucket, gets created, and they're connected to the data service. What means is any changes in the operational data, which is lying in the data service, are reflected in the analytics service in real time. So business users can then query the analytics data using Nickel for analytics without slowing down the operational data of query. So with this continuous ingestion using database change protocol, which we call DCP, between the operational nodes and the analytical nodes, it allows the operational and analytical queries to run concurrently without impacting one another. The next part is about our internal architecture of how the analytics processing works. So Couchbase Analytics is architected on a uniquely massively parallel processing architecture among core and server's query engine. It uses parallel data management designed to efficiently run complex queries over massive data sets. So what do you mean by complex queries? We mean large, ad hoc joins, huge data sets, aggregations with filters, grouping operations, any of which may result in long-running queries, high CPU usage, or high memory consumption, or excessive network latency due to data fetching across various node coordination. So with this model, what happens, the query gets partitioned. There are worker nodes from the main nodes, and the query is parsed parallelly and provides you the result set. Hence, there is no impact to the operational workflow due to workload isolation. And there's no need for data migration or ETL from your data service to your analytics service because the data is instantly available in the analytics service. Plus, analytics service drives high performance and a faster query execution. But that's the new result is once you get your query, then you get to your insights, you get to your analyses. It could be moving, doing analysis on could be a data moving into your data integration tool. It could be moving into your data warehouse. It could be moving into your data lake. Or it could be even moving into your BI visualization tool, or it could be even your data science project or prediction capabilities which you may be designing. So we have real-time insights within database analytics based on the query engine can run ad hoc queries to perform complex joins, groupings, and aggregations. So before I get to Cliff, I wanted to just paint a little bit of key pain points which our customers have been experiencing prior to using analytics service. The customers who are using Nickel they wanted to offload their complex data processing and computation requests from query service, which impact high operational workloads. There was a need for isolating the workloads, and that's part of HOPE, is the workload isolation and the aggregations of large data size. Number two, the customers were using for example, RDBMS for data originating in JSON format. They needed a familiar SQL-like capability to report and analyze the JSON data. It was really cumbersome to extract and flatten the data from the JSON structures within the RDBMSs. So that became more and more of a key pain point. Number three, the customers are using a central data warehouse, enterprise data warehouse, a customer hub, or information hub. They find it sometimes too rigid as the schema and the access is very tightly controlled at the corporate level. So traditional data warehouses require schema modifications and JSON data source changes. And they wanted the ability to quickly derive real-time insights for customer behaviors and business processes. And there's also an opportunity to run ad hoc reports without even touching the core data warehouse. So they wanted to explore before even publishing the data to the data warehouse. And lastly, customers who are using a query service, there is a specific need for query service. You want data to be coming instantly, and they're facing increased challenges as the data grows because query service is designed to return a smaller, focused kind of a data set where you have your data highly indexed. And when you're running complex ad hoc queries, you may not even know some of the questions or answers to what you're looking for, you're exploring, and performance gets impacted. And at times, maybe your SLAs also get impacted. These are some of the key pain points which I wanted to share as from what our customers have seen and how they have resolved by using analytics service. With that, I would like to pass on to our next speaker, and Cliff, you can take it away and tell your story.
Okay, thanks, Idris. Hi, everybody. My name is Cliff Miller, and today I want to take you through some of the stuff that we've been working on in conjunction with the Couchbase folks as it relates to our journey into this agile data space, especially when it comes to NoSQL type platforms. So a little background on me. I've been in the data space for quite some time now, doing enterprise data architecture stuff at Domino's for several years. And I've seen a myriad of things happen over the last decade or so, and it's always interesting to see what kind of challenges are presented to folks in our industry in IT. A lot of them are shared. It's interesting to talk to folks and hear the same types of challenges from other people that you're experiencing. So hopefully today I take you through some of this stuff. It resonates with you. If you've got any questions, submit them in the chat, and I'm actually going to try to go through the slides at a fairly good clip so that we've got time for Q&A stuff after the fact and really dig into any questions that folks have got. So the Domino's journey with analytics was really something that we wanted to be purposeful, and it has to do with we're a QSR retailer, and so our experience with the consumer is extremely important to us. It's something that we take very, very seriously. It's sacred to us, in fact. And so when we talk about, or when we think about ways that we can engage and enhance the consumer's experience with our brand, that has evolved and gone in different directions and leaps and bounds over the last several years. And part of what we realized is that we really needed to be nimble about how we were doing it, but nimble with purpose. So as I go through some of this stuff today, here's my Surgeon General's slide for all of you guys. I'll answer everything I possibly can and tell you if I don't know something that I don't know it, or if I can't tell you something that I can't tell you based on the secret sauce that we've got going behind, no pun intended, behind the platform that we're using. So if anybody else out there is in the retail industry space, hopefully, something like omnichannel marketing you've heard before, right? So it's a topic of perennial discussion and debate amongst a lot of folks, and at Domino's Pizza, just like other places. And we really find that that is a challenge to really do flawlessly, because there's, customer engagement can happen on so many different levels these days, and we're really trying to take that, we try and take that to the next level and make it relevant for each individual, and not just relevant on one channel, but in how they prefer to interact with your brand. That can be very difficult. And consumers today have a myriad of options that they can, ways that they can do business with any organization, and figuring out what's the best mechanism, what resonates with with them the most. That can be difficult, and all of those things evolve so quickly these days, is that trying to keep up with it and keep pace can be very challenging. And so that opportunity for us was something that we started to embrace around different styles of technology, because we felt we needed to be more nimble than we were in the past, because good or great for us is never enough. We're always looking to raise the bar. And so we started looking at technologies like Couchbase, in that regard, and actually came up with something really, really cool. So there's lots of facets. I'm not a marketing guru by any stretch of the imagination, but there's lots of facets to, really effective marketing. And so as you look at a couple of these bubbles out there, whether it's something happening in the store through a loyalty program or campaigns, we believe that the analytical side of that, data-driven enterprises, things that Jim talked to you about early on in the webinar, we think are very relevant, and they're very real. And the folks that can do that really, really well are the ones that seem to be outpacing others in their particular space. So for us, we really centered around the idea of how do we take the the customer engagement to the next level. So how do we extend our brand to people in meaningful ways that's meaningful to them? And that will be different from person to person to person, and really give them the best of breed experience that we can absolutely offer, in our QSR industry. So where we landed was we needed to be able to take an iterative, experimental approach to a lot of our segmentation and our marketing efforts and our communications out to our customers. So, we all believed kind of in our gut that data agility, and that's my title of this slide, is leveraging the power of data agility, was something that was going to be key to our success. And really that iterative process of being able to hypothesize something and say, we believe that we might be able to reach a segment of the population in a more effective way if we go do X, Y, and Z. And then, behind that, once, we can provide some measurement around that and say, and because this is iterative, we say, okay, we've got data points that we believe support that. So now let's go and we'll go design and build, and we'll put something together that we believe is going to be relevant for our consumers. Then we deploy that, and we get into a space where we can test and we can measure. So all these things really go hand in hand with one another. But the foundation of all of that, we have a very strong belief, is rooted in information. And so the Couchbase platform, to kind of try to tie back to what Jim was talking about and what Idris is talking about in terms of the hope paradigm, is that we have operational information, we have order information, we have things like that coming into platforms and into the Domino's ecosystem, and we wanted to take that information and turn it into actionable insights that really let us drive the brand and make really meaningful change around those consumer engagement opportunities. So this circular approach for us was really important, because we needed to be able to do it quickly. We needed to be able to do it very iteratively, and kind of this whole test, measure, and experiment in ways that we hadn't traditionally been able to do in the past. And both Idris and Jim alluded to the fact that in a more traditional enterprise data warehouse. A lot of it is, centered around structured activities and data sets and things like that can be or have a longer tail on them in terms of change management and, modifying things and getting all the downstream processes to interact with the changes, appropriately. So we wanted something that was going to be flexible that we could work with and also extend to our other technology teams and, in our digital e-commerce space to be able to act on and say, okay, if we put information together that looks like this, that you guys can take that and, and drive consumer engagement to the next level and test it out and say, okay, listen, we think this is going to work. We've got some data points behind it. Let's measure it. Let's go after it. And then say, okay, how did that work? And if we find that something worked really, really well, that's great. We've got an opportunity to kind of bake that into our overall set of platforms. But we didn't have to go through a lot of that legwork up front just to find out that test may not have resonated, right? So, not every idea is gold all the time, even though we'd love them to be, but that ability to have it be iterative and cyclical was one of the key characteristics of a platform like Couch. And so, in my mind, it's not just, a clear delineation between, well, this platform can do data management and this platform can do analytics. We really looked at it as a combined opportunity or desires to have those things coexist and be able to function together in such a way that we were moving the data around as little as possible, but able to leverage it in lots of different ways that the analytics side of things in Couch's platform, I know that's kind of our core topic for today, was able to help us drive decisions around, ways that we were going to look to segment, our consumer base to hypothesize and test and to reach out to them and say, hey, listen, is this working really, really well? Is this segment of customers responding well to the offers and the things that we're driving to them? So it's been a very interesting challenge thus far to get to put or to apply technology to. And I would say I know that there's the focus of this particular webinar is on the analytics side, but for me that there's a great deal of power in both sides of Couch's platform. So the data management and the flexibility around how you can store information, the formats, those types of things around data management were key. And then really for us, that analytics portion of it is going to let us gain a whole ton of visibility into that data, right? Whether we need to shape it or change it or, set it up differently, but, being able to expose that to our business partners in a much faster and more timely manner is a huge win for an organization like us, because we're always looking to be a data-driven organization that, while we have these kind of these gut feelings and, we believe kind of, in our bones that these things, a particular initiative is the way to go, we want those objective, measurable, empirical data points behind it to say, yeah, well, you know what, this worked and here's why. So overall, to me, the things that the platform allows you to do are pretty substantial in terms of those two core areas, data management and analytics. And I'll be the first one to tell you that as we were evaluating things with the Couch team, they were very transparent around what it's good at and what it's not, right? So they did not come in and sell us on the fact that it was a panacea and a silver bullet that would solve every problem. They will talk to you about, where it's great at things and where it's just not meant to really be your solution. So we took that back and really spent time thinking around what it was we were trying to accomplish and ultimately crafted that to fit that use case. And so it's been a really good experience. So I think Idris is going to take you through some more of the behind the scenes type stuff, and I will hang out and be available for any questions that you folks want to put in the chat. Idris, back over to you.
Hey, Cliff, look, that was really good. One quick question. So, maybe did you talk about, you guys also created a some new attributes out of your data science experiment. And can you talk a little bit about how you moved that and how you complemented your data warehouse to enrich it further and the ecosystem as well?
Yeah, sure. So I guess the way I would describe our architecture, our data architecture around the platforms that we have in place is that Couch augments our existing data management tier. So we have a kind of a more traditional enterprise data warehouse that's got a lot of information in it. It's got tons of amazing insights around people and orders and our operations and stores and supply chains and things like that. But you know, that like a lot of traditional RDBMS technology can be a little harder to change, like I said, you know, in terms of data structures and things like that. So one of the premises of what we're trying to get to is the ability to create information out of information, right? So one of the things that we did very early on is to figure out ways that we could leverage the Couchbase platform with a hybrid of using analytics together with data management, is to basically create information out of information. So we would take certain things that we already knew about segments of our population and be able to combine those together and come up with new ways to categorize consumers or behaviors or things like that, and say, okay, you know, we believe that there's in kind of this hypothesize, you know, design, build, test, and measure, is that we can generate something that we believe, hypothesize, is a valid or a really fruitful way to look at something, design and test that in a much faster manner, and then go out, you know, go to market with it and then measure the results of that, and really try to shorten that time frame from, you know, idea to implementation, which has traditionally been longer than we really like it to be, based on, you know, what kind of organization we are. And so, you know, I would say that that capability is it's a hybrid, right? It's not just analytics and it's not just the data management, but it's really the marriage of both of those and being able to do that in an environment without having to move data around, right? Because I know that is been a struggle of many of, you know, the folks in this industry, especially in the data space, for years and years and years and years. Is, you know, sometimes you're taking data from here and moving it over here, and then, you know, you're changing it around and going back and forth with it, and all of that, you know, all of that activity has time and motion implications. And so when it comes to bringing something to market, we wanted to be able to do that very quickly, and the hybrid of those two capabilities really let us get to that level, which is very cool. Hopefully that answered the question.
Thanks. Yep. Thanks, Chris. This was really helpful. So really appreciate you providing those insights and sharing that with the attendees on the call here. I'm going to walk you through a couple of other things of some of the innovation we're doing in Cloudbased Analytics, and talk a little bit more about what we've been doing as part of the HOPE methodology, and how making available more data and more analytics for real time. So one of the things what we have done is the ability to now, with the advent of the new release of Couchbase 6.6, developers and the community here can now tap into Amazon's S3 object store and dynamically get your data retrieved from Couchbase Analytics and combine it with your existing analytics data set. What does that mean? Well, first of all, you're tapping into your data lake, and your data is in your natural form. The current release, we are supporting JSON, comma separated values, and tab separated values, including gzip compressed file. And the use cases here for customers who want to analyze the historical data archived into S3, or they have product reviews, or they have some other data set from IoT devices. They're coming in, streaming into the data lake in S3. What this allows is when we say real time, it basically means it doesn't take the data and gets into Cloudbased Analytics. It is querying the data in real time at that point in time, based on the structure, and providing the result set. So this is one of the other use cases where it becomes more powerful, where it allows you to do more real-time analytics with more data. and more correlations. The other feature I want to talk about is the feature called remote links. Prior to Couchbase 6.6, we could only do analytics service only within a particular cluster. So our customers wanted the ability to analyze data from their multiple clusters, which are across multiple Couchbase clusters, so they can get all the analytics service analytics in one place. And there was a cost effectiveness argument, a TCO argument, and a better resource utilization to help unify this data from multiple sources. So with the advent of remote links, what now you can do is, for example, you could have your customer service data, you could have your shopping cart data, you could have your social media data, your marketing and sales and finance, all the applications in various clusters. Now you can unify. This allows you to create your own analytics cluster. You don't have to, but you can dedicate and do it. But with remote links, the underlying concept, it uses the same as the database change protocol. So anytime you use remote links, it takes your data from each of these clusters and replicates and makes it available, and a shadow copy data set is made available in the analytics cluster. So there's remote data ingestion from the remote KV clusters, and this helps our customers reduce the total cost of ownership, the more centralized data management, and with more improved compute resources. Just going to wrap it up with saying what Couchbase Analytics, some of the benefits and differentiators is we covered the continuous data sync, where there's continuous ingestion of data between data services and analytics service, which based on our MPP architecture results in also workload isolation, which your query services designed for using query service, and analytics service takes the load of doing all your aggregations, your groupings, your sets, and various complex ad hoc querying, really resulting in higher performance of your data coming in much, much faster. And when you say no ETL for no SQL, is essentially you use JSON for analytics, using a nickel for query capability you don't need to transform the data from one source to another. Well, of course, if you have to take the data from the analytics service and put it into a data warehouse, of course you have to take the data movement, but just within Couchbase, you do not have to do that between the data service and the analytics service and any other services which you're leveraging today. Also, the analytics service is very, very easy to manage. It's very easy to add a new nodes and rebalance it, and it replicates it very seamlessly to give you more performance. Again, Nickel for Analytics is very easy. It's exactly SQL-like, and folks who are familiar with SQL, they can easily plug in and use it right away. And if you're familiar with Nickel for Query, it's exactly the same. So having said that, I will open up for Q&A.